Well, the Northern Territory Greens are still celebrating after getting their first ever MP elected. Kat McNamara has defeated former Labor Chief Minister Natasha Fyles in the Darwin electorate of Rockliff. She spoke to 6 News about what's next for her and the party.
It's a really big deal. It's an historic win for us. The Green movement here has been going for decades. And so we've had people working at this for a long time, but we have had a massive growth we've quadrupled our membership in the last 18 months. We've got an incredible group of volunteers, over 100 volunteers from Mbant to Alice Springs up to the top end. And we've run a really great, thorough campaign of getting out there, talking to people in the electorates. I mean, we've been door knocking since last year, having really fantastic conversations with people about and listening to them. What are their concerns? What do they feel that is missing or lacking in politics? And so much has come back to people feeling like the community is not being represented, and that there's an integrity crisis in our politics, so that vested interests and big business have too much influence in our politics, as well as concerns around environment and community safety and crime. They were the big issues that people wanted to be heard on. You're right to talk about the other electorates too, because even though we didn't win a seat there, it still feels like a massive win for us. The 30% swing in Breitling, I think, might be unprecedented. I think is the largest swing the Greens nationally have ever had. And, Suki and Fanny Bay came really close. I think it's a combination of we just had a huge growth in our movement, and people willing to get out there and join the movement as volunteers. But also, I think, a growing dissatisfaction with the general population around their politics and the direction that we were heading in. People we heard again and again and again on the doors where they were so unhappy with the major two parties, felt like that nothing was ever improving, and they weren't seeing what was important to them being put on the table, and they were just ready for a change. And yeah, I'm sure things interstate as well have played a part, like the big swings to Greens in other areas as well. People are starting to understand now that the Greens are not just a one-issue party. We're not just for the environment. And they were so keen to hear what we had to say about renters' rights and about domestic violence and about all these other issues which we feel quite passionately about. And when we got to go on the doors and explain our policies and initiatives, it was really well received.
And again, you just touched on it right at the end, those policies and the issues that you were really running on. What are you going to be pushing for in the first couple of weeks being elected to Parliament? And again, it just has to show that, or it cannot be understated that, this is the first time the Greens are going to have a voice in the NT Parliament to get all those NT Greens positions in there. Anything in particular you're looking for in the first couple of weeks and months?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first couple of weeks, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this new role and what I have to do, because obviously it's a first for all of us. We sort of won the election and went, right, what happens now? um, so that's going to be our first step, and we've got our membership, and it's really important that the Greens membership, feel heard, but it's also obviously about the community. And so because I'm a big part of the community here, I'll still be out having conversations with everyone that I meet on the street and at the shops around what they want to see us bring to the table in Parliament. But the big issues that we're hearing are crime and community safety, integrity in politics, and people feel like they're not being put first. And the environment and climate is very big up here. We're looking at governments that want to create an onshore fracking industry. And fracking in particular has been a big hot button topic in my electorate in Rockliff. Most people, I can say, do not want fracking to go ahead in the Northern Territory. And this was a really big issue that got brought up again and again. So like all those three things and more will be what I'll be looking at to put on the table when I start.
Goes without saying the CLP won a pretty big majority. How are you going to make sure that your voice is heard when, unicameral parliament, they can bypass you, the crossbench, the opposition? How are you going to make sure that you're able to be effective over the next 4 years?
Yeah, good question. Look, I'm excited, first of all, to get to go and meet the other crossbench members. My role, as well as being a solo Green in there, is going to be around scrutinising legislation, bringing transparency to the public. This is a big issue we've had here in the Territory, where the public have asked questions and we could never fully get answers from our government. So, we had last year a group of parents and doctors travelled all the way to Canberra to ask for a Senate inquiry into middle arm because we could not get any clear answers from our government. So to have me in there at the table and to help provide that transparency to the public is going to be crucial, and sort of shine a light on what is going on in there. And I want to set a standard for integrity too. The Greens don't accept corporate donations. People feel like both Labor and the CLP act on the dime of the gas industry, and I'm here to put the interests of my electorate first and foremost always.
And just quickly, finally, circling back to what we were saying, are you hopeful that this is going to be able to, I guess, spur the NT Greens on? And look, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves for 2028, but really both at that level, I guess I imagine some swings at the federal level in the NT as well, and also local elections next year where the Greens do run and endorse, and that is where the Greens in the NT have had representatives until now, of course.
Yeah, it really feels like we are just building and building momentum. It's so exciting. This is, I mean, this is the beginning of a movement. I mean, we've had a history and we've built on it, but having this first seat at the table is just a really incredible moment that I feel can only go up from here. And it is motivated. And, you know, the progressive community here in Nightcliff is very broad. There's lots of types of people here, but what we've done this time is really break out of those progressive bubbles to talk to. And that's, you know, part of my background. I've worked in trades, I've worked in all sorts of areas, being able to talk to people from all walks of life and bring them with you, meet them where they're at and bring them with you. And I think people, more and more people that maybe were not typically Greens voters before, I see, I mean, I've had people say to me, this is my first time I'm voting Greens in my life, and I'm so excited. I can only see that momentum building, and I'm already excited for 2028.